All right, so we are going to finish up section 1.2, operations of real numbers, with this page, example 5, multiplication. So when we're multiplying fractions like a over b times c over d, you basically are just multiplying your numerators together, and then a times c is ac, and your denominators b times d is bd, and then you simplify as needed. And then remember for multiplication, if you have the same signs, like a positive times a positive, your answer is positive. If they're both negative, the answer is still positive for multiplication and division. If the signs are different, then the answer is negative. So first problem, 3 times negative 9. Well, positive times a negative is a negative. So this will be negative 27. All right, the next one, we'll have to do this step by step, left to right. Negative 2 times negative 6 is a positive 12, and 12 times 4 is 24, so the final answer would be 24. And then fractions in C, 1/3 times negative 3/4. Well, you multiply numerator times numerator, so 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, 3 times 4 is 12, so we're going to multiply negative 3/12 times 2. Now, 2 can be put in fraction form by putting it over 1. It might be helpful for you to do this. And then you can multiply straight across, or you can simplify. I'm just going to multiply straight across. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. 12 times 1 is 12. We can divide both of these by 6 and simplify this down to negative 1/2. We could have also simplified as we went. If we look back here to the beginning, if we cross cancel, we can divide 12 and 2 by 2. If I do that, 12 divided by 2 is 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we would actually just multiply negative 3/6 times 1 over 1, which is negative 3/6, which equals negative 1/2. All right, division. So division, when you're doing this by hand, you actually never divide. So you never actually do long division or anything like that. If you remember the rules from Algebra 1 or pre-algebra, you basically keep the first number the same, you flip division to multiplication, and you rewrite the second number as its reciprocal. So basically you just like flip it upside down. So using that method, we would keep negative 9/14 the way it is. We would change division to multiplication, and we're going to flip this fraction upside down. That's called its reciprocal. So this is a negative number. You can put the negative in with the numerator, the denominator, or on the outside. I'm just going to put it with the numerator. I actually always prefer to put my negative numbers just with the numerator number rather than have it on the outside, because to be a negative number, you only need one negative sign, and I just prefer to have it in the numerator. It's helpful for me. Now it's time for us to multiply. Multiplying straight across, negative 9 times negative 3 is a positive 27. 14 times 1 is 14. And remember, whenever our answer is in improper fraction form, if the teacher asks you or the question asks you to put it back into mixed number form, then you might have to do that. If they are asking you to just leave it in simplified improper fraction form, then 27/14 is simplified fraction form. But if the question asks you to convert it back into a mixed number, 14 goes into 27 one time with 13 left over as its remainder. So in mixed number form, it would be 1 and 13/14. All right, the next one, letter B, negative 27 over negative 9. Well, that just simplifies to be a positive 3. And then the last one requires the most work, because whenever we are dividing mixed numbers, we actually have to put them into improper fraction form first. So when I have a negative mixed number, forget the negative for now, just do the old school, multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add the numerator, and then we're going to insert the negative at the end. So what I mean by that is 4 times 4 is 16, 16 plus 1 is 17. So 4 and 1/4 is the same thing as 17/4. Well, then negative 4 and 1/4 would be negative 17/4. Don't do negative 4 times 4 and then plus 1, because you will get a different answer. All right, this is negative 17/4 divided by 5 times 8 is 40. 40 plus 5 is 45. So this is 45/8. And then again, when we're dividing fractions, we keep the first one the same. So this is going to be negative 17/4. We change the division to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction upside down. It's its reciprocal, and that would become 8 over 45. Now, if you don't have a calculator and you're doing this by hand, I highly suggest cross-canceling. That means looking at the diagonals and seeing if there are any factors you can take out. So 17 and 45, looking at that left diagonal, they don't have any factors in common besides 1, but 8 and 4 do. I can pull out a factor of 4 of both 4 and 8. That means basically divide 4 from each number. Well, 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. That's going to simplify it for you because now you don't have to do any longer multiplication by yourself. Now we can just use negative 17 times 2 instead of negative 17 times 8. Well, negative 17 times 2 is negative 34, and 1 times 45 is 45. That can't be simplified, so that would be the final answer there for that one. All right, so that's basically multiplying fractions. Let me erase all of this and then scroll down, and we will work on the order of operations next. All right, so order of operations. This little graphic organizer is using a G instead of a P. I'm used to using a P for parentheses, but this one is using G, I guess, for grouping symbols. Now that's also known as parentheses. Okay. So whenever you see parentheses, like this is the word parentheses is in parentheses. I mean these, or square brackets, or fancy brackets like this. These are all examples of parentheses. When you see a math problem that is inside of a grouping symbol, you would have to complete that problem first. The E stands for exponents. Okay, that means anytime you see any number raised to a power, like 2 to the 3rd power, you would do that after you simplify anything in parentheses. Then multiplication and division are along the same line, so this would be, M stands for multiplication. And then the last two would be addition or subtraction. Okay, it is very important to understand you're working from left to right at all times during this process, but then also following this order at the same time. Once you get down to multiplication or division, you just work from left to right. If you see division first, that's fine. If you see multiplication first, do that. Whatever comes first from left to right, as long as it's multiplication or division, you would do that. And then once you get down to addition or subtraction, if a subtraction problem is to the left, and that's the first thing you see, and then an addition problem is to the right, you would do subtraction first before you do any addition. It depends on how it's laid out. It's whatever comes first, basically. So let's practice some problems. Let me erase this and scroll to the next page. Okay, finally decided to work. Alrighty, so using the order of operations to simplify these problems. Alright, the first one looks just like the second one, just something's different. In the first one, we have here some grouping symbols. We have parentheses. Now, these parentheses are just showing that this is a negative 3. This is negative 3 to the 4th power. Negative 3 to the 4th power means that you're multiplying negative 3 by itself 4 times. Negative 3 is your base number, so you're going to be multiplying that by itself 4 times. Now, when you are multiplying numbers, and it's a negative number, and you're raising it to an even number, your answer is going to end up positive because every 2 of these numbers are going to make a positive number. Like negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, and because of the commutative property, we can move things around a little bit. We could do negative 3 times negative 3 here, and 9 times 9 is 81. So you can think of it that way, or you could just know anytime you're raising a negative to an even number like 4, your answer will always be positive. Now, I know we're supposed to be doing these without a calculator right now, but if you put this in your calculator and you use the parentheses, your answer would be a positive 81. Number 2 looks very similar to number 1, except there are no parentheses. This problem is different. This problem says, what is the opposite of 3 to the 4th power? Well, 3 to the 4th power is 3 multiplied by itself 4 times. 3 multiplied by itself 4 times is 81. But because this is asking for the opposite of that, this answer would be negative 81. These problems get mixed up all the time, so be really open to the idea that your answer can be a little bit different depending on if that number has parentheses around it or not. I'm going to let you guys try number 3 on your own once I let you guys try some problems. We'll just do number 4 together, and then I'm going to have you guys try the rest of these on your own. So let's just do number 4 quickly. Number 4, 20 minus 2 times 3 to the 2nd power. A lot of kids would mess this up in different areas. Some people they're used to reading left to right, and they want to just do 20 minus 2 first. You cannot do that. You have to follow the order of operations. I'm going to use P for parentheses instead of G for grouping, but if we're following PEMDAS, there are no parentheses, there's no grouping symbols, so we can skip down to the next one. We would look at exponents. So I see exponents there. I see 3 to the 2nd power. This 3 to the 2nd power is what we would have to do first. Many people would think, let's do 2 times 3 first, and then raise that to the 2nd power, and that is not how it works. You have to do 3 squared first. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. So this becomes 20 minus 2 times 9. Okay? Next, we would have to do the multiplication. 2 times 9, you can barely see that little multiplication sign in there, so I'm going to use parentheses here. 2 times 9 is 18. And then lastly, we would subtract 20 minus 18 is 2. What I want you guys to do now is complete the rest of these practice problems. So go back to number 3, and then do 5 through 13. And then after you guys are finished, we are going to go over these together.